I did my video update earlier today, right after a huge thunderstorm, rain pouring down here in Kuala Lumpur. I walked over to the park, which is down that way, the planetarium, which is down that way, knocked out my video update, and the news was that Hezbollah chief Nasrallah, he was in Beirut, and Israel, they launched big strikes, big bombing campaign, missile strikes, bombing campaign in Beirut last night, and they were targeting Nasrallah. At least the reports were claiming that Israel was targeting Nasrallah. And earlier today, the news was that Nasrallah was not in that area, and he was safe and had escaped the bombings in Beirut. But the latest reports are that Israel has indeed eliminated Nasrallah, the Hezbollah chief, the Hezbollah leader. It is evening time, early evening in Kuala Lumpur. It's about to get dark here in Malaysia, and I got the news that most likely Nasrallah has been eliminated. And so I am doing this short video to update you on the latest news. You will now watch my earlier video update when the news was that Nasrallah had escaped. So now the news is that Nasrallah did not escape, and the Israeli military successfully eliminated Nasrallah during the Beirut bombings that took place yesterday. There has been no comment from Hezbollah or from Iran as to the fate of Nasrallah, which leads me to believe that most likely Israel did indeed eliminate Nasrallah, but we still don't know. There's no official comment from Hezbollah or from Iran. So my earlier video, the reports were that Nasrallah was not in the area and he was in a safe place. Now the update is that Israel has eliminated Nasrallah. He was in a bunker in this neighborhood in Beirut that was bombed by Israel. If they did eliminate Nasrallah, then this is huge news. Very big news, and it's going to be extremely difficult for Iran to not retaliate, to not do something. If this news is indeed confirmed, then we are heading towards a big conflict. That's the way it looks. But let's wait and see. Still no official comment from Hezbollah or Iran, but the fact that they are now silent about Nasrallah's fate leads me to believe that most likely Israel has eliminated Nasrallah. Anyway, let's get to my full video from earlier today in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
I also have a very good relationship, as you know, with President Putin, and I think if we win, I think we're going to get it resolved very quickly. I really think we're going to get it resolved.
I hope we have more good relations.
We're going to have. Oh, I see. Yeah, but you know, it takes two to tango. You know, and
this is my video update on this Saturday afternoon, September the 28th, coming to you from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And somehow I ended up at the planetarium. Planetarium is here, second tallest building in the world. It's right over there. I believe that is it. 118. And yeah, let's walk around, do a little bit of exploring. I don't know what that sound is. What is that sound? You guys hear it? Very odd. But let's walk around a bit and we will talk about what is going on in the world on this Saturday. And the big news story is the bombing of Lebanon, of Beirut. I think that is the big story for today, actually, yesterday night. Israel, they bombed a neighborhood, I believe in South Beirut. And Netanyahu was actually in New York. He's at the UN and he gave a speech to the UN General Assembly. But while he was in New York, he gave the orders, the go-ahead to start hitting a neighborhood in Beirut. According to Reuters, this is according to Reuters, the purpose of the operation was to take out Hezbollah chief Nasrallah. But the videos and the images coming out of Beirut are horrific. An entire neighborhood appears to have been flattened. And Nasrallah, the reports are that Nasrallah was nowhere around that area, and he's in a different place, a safe place, and Israel was not able to take out Nasrallah. But Netanyahu's purpose in all of this, I believe that his purpose to all of this is to continue to try and draw Iran into a conflict. The escalation we've seen, the escalation, the provocation over the past, I don't know, six months, you can say, from the hitting of the embassy in Syria to taking out the Hamas chief in Tehran, to the pager incident that happened a couple of weeks ago, and now the operation in Beirut. Maybe they did have information that Nasrallah was in the area, and maybe part of the operation was connected to going after Nasrallah. But I think the main purpose to all of this is to try and draw Iran into the conflict. I think that's obvious, to try and get Iran into a war with not only Israel, but of course the United States. And Iran's in a tough position. They are in a very difficult position. At least that's how it looks to me. Because when did the Tehran hitting the Hamas chief in Tehran, when did that happen? That was maybe 2 months ago, and everyone was expecting a retaliation from Iran, an immediate retaliation. It did not happen, and the world was waiting for Iran to retaliate. No such thing happened, and then Netanyahu just decided to escalate, to provoke some more, and Iran is going to have to. It looks like Iran's going to have to do something. They cannot keep on delaying some sort of action. This is the position that Iran finds itself in. And it's a tough position, I have to admit. It's a very difficult position because Hezbollah and much of the region and the proxies that are aligned with Iran, they're getting very, very frustrated and very upset with Iran because they're telling them, look, you guys are abandoning Hezbollah. You're abandoning us. You're not doing anything while all of this escalation is happening. And Iran, if they don't do something, then they're going to look very much like a paper tiger. Like they really don't have the ability to assert themselves in the region. So they can play the long game, and it looks like they're waiting before they retaliate. At least that's the impression that we got, that they're waiting for the right time to retaliate. But the more they keep on waiting, the weaker Iran looks. The proxies in the area, they start to view the Iranian leadership as weak. And Iran's going to have to do something if it's going to continue to be looked upon as a force within the region. Now, of course, Iran is hesitant to be drawn into the conflict, into a conflict with Israel and eventually with the United States. Obviously, it's hesitant because you're talking about a big destructive war, and you're talking about playing into Netanyahu's hands. So you guys see what I'm getting at? They're in a tough situation, in a very difficult situation. Yeah, I know it's a hot, humid day, huh? Yeah. Yeah. So that's what's going on there. A lot of rain came down just 5 minutes ago. But we'll see. We'll see what'll happen. I'm under the impression that the Iranian government, the Iranian leadership, they cannot wait much longer. They can't play the long game much longer, if that makes any sense, because they are losing the trust from in the region. They are losing their position in the region, and they're being exposed as not being able to take on Netanyahu, which is, Netanyahu, this is how he's playing it. He's actually got Hezbollah upset with Iran. He's actually gotten them to be at odds. Stonehenge, huh? Stonehenge, stone circle in Salisbury Plain, England. It's an ancient monument with astronomical connections. We made it all the way to England, huh? So Netanyahu was in New York at the UN, and he gave his speech at the General Assembly. As he spoke, half of the assembly emptied out. Netanyahu's speech, he actually talked about aligning with some of the countries in the Middle East. He called them the blessed countries, the blessing countries. And then he also had, he brought his visual aids. Netanyahu does this a lot whenever he speaks at the UN. He always brings these very cartoonish, colorful, cartoonish, over the top type of graphs and visual aids when he makes his speech. And it was no different this time around. He had one graph, one map, once again very, very colorful, very cartoonish, which said the blessing, and it had countries like Saudi Arabia and Jordan and Egypt, where Netanyahu said in his speech that these are going to be the countries that Israel and the United States, the collective West, they're going to invest in, and they're going to build big infrastructure projects and energy projects and stuff like that. And these are going to be the blessing countries. And then he had the countries on the baddies list, which he called the cursed countries, which were in black, and they consisted of Iran, of course, Iraq, and Syria. So these are the countries on the cursed list. These are the countries that, according to Netanyahu, are causing all of the problems. And so he held up the two charts. Interestingly enough, Saudi Arabia, which is on the blessings country list, they left the assembly hall during Netanyahu's speech. So they weren't interested in hearing from Netanyahu when he was in New York. But a very common speech that Netanyahu usually gives when he's speaking to the General Assembly. I don't think it was a speech that was any different than his usual speeches that he gives. So that is the update there. And since we're in New York, let's talk about the big meeting that took place in New York between Elensky and Trump. Elensky and Trump, yeah. And Elensky got dressed up for the meeting with Trump. he was wearing his standard green long sleeve shirt and spiffy combat boots. Trump, of course, is wearing his suit. Looked very diplomatic, very statesman-like. I always see Trump in a suit. Either he's playing golf, he's not wearing a suit, but when he's not playing golf, he's wearing his suit. And Elensky, well, he looked like Elensky, right? The actor in his green military outfit. And he actually wore the same thing when he met with Biden as well. He goes to the White House, meets with Biden, and he looks awful. Anyway, he met with Trump, and it did not go well. The meeting did not go well at all. But to be fair to Elensky, he got what he wanted. He got the meeting with Trump. And he can go back to Kiev and he can say he met Biden, Harris, and Trump. So that makes me the legitimate president. So Vanderites, get off my back. Don't you dare think about removing me. I've got the support of Biden. I've got the support of Harris. And I even met the Don. And he goes back with a couple of billion of dollars, 8 billion USD, of which a lot of it is going to go to the military-industrial complex and stuff like that. But he'll have some money to pass around to everyone in Kiev, so they'll lay off of Elensky for a while. But it didn't go well. It really did not go well. When you listen to everything that Trump said, it did not go well for Elensky. Trump brought up, as he's meeting with Elensky, something that Biden and Harris did not do and never will do, is Trump brought up the fact that there has to be peace. There has to be a ceasefire and peace. The war must end. This is something that Biden and Harris never say. So Trump said that. And Trump said that he gets along with Putin. He said he gets along with Elensky. And he said he gets along with Putin. And he knows how to talk to Putin and negotiate with Putin. And when a reporter asked Trump, has your position changed on Ukraine since talking to Elensky and meeting with Elensky? And Trump said, no, my position has not changed. We need to put an end to the war, and I'm going to put an end to the war. He said, I'm going to put an end to the war fairly quickly. That is what Trump said. And when Trump was talking about Putin and the good relations that he has with Putin, Elensky was actually, Elensky was getting jealous. No joke, man. The guy was getting jealous. And Trump said, and I quote, I also have a great relationship with Putin. He said he has a good relationship with Elensky. And then he says, I also have a great relationship with Putin. And then Elensky jumps in and he said, I hope you have more good relations with us. And then Trump said, well, you know, it takes two to tango, you know. He was actually getting jealous at the fact that Trump was talking about Putin, and not in a bad way. And Elensky got jealous. I also hope have good relationship with us too. I hope you have more good relationship with us. It's just sad, man. Really is sad that this is the guy that's that's continuing this conflict. This is the guy that is getting hundreds and hundreds of billions and is leading his country to destruction. He gets jealous at the fact that Trump brings up Putin's name and Trump doesn't say thug and dictator and nonsense like that. So yeah, Elensky was getting upset. Politico says, in the exchange Friday in New York, ahead of a private meeting between the two leaders, it elicited pushback from Elensky, who interjected, "I hope we have more good relations with us." So the fact that Trump was bringing up Putin and was saying that he can speak to Putin and speak to Elensky and he's going to find a resolution to the conflict did not bode well for Elensky, who is absolutely set on keeping the conflict going. Elensky wants to keep the war going because if the war continues, at least for the next 3, 4, 5 months, Elensky can remain in power, or he hopes that he can remain in power and he can formulate his exit plan. Because I'm under the impression that he hasn't quite figured out how to extract himself from Project Ukraine. And he needs some time to figure that out. So that was the Trump meeting. I would say that it went as expected. I don't think there were any huge surprises. Maybe the surprise is that Trump actually talked well about Putin when Elensky was right next to him, which shows that, at least to me, it shows that Trump is, for the time being, is serious about resolving the conflict. You can tell that Elensky was very much the inferior to Trump. He was the lower to Trump. I mean, Trump was, for lack of a better word, the alpha. He was the more dominant as they were standing next to each other. I mean, Elensky did look like he was a bit intimidated by Trump. And as far as Trump goes, the big question is the Elensky curse. You have an Elensky curse with Harris, and you're going to have an Elensky curse with Trump. The Elensky curse has already hit Biden hard. So the big question is, what happens to Trump? What do you guys think? Trump shook Elensky's hand. He did not hug him. He kept his distance. He wasn't particularly touchy and friendly with Elensky. So the question is, does the Elensky curse affect Trump? To be fair, Kamala Harris was also very distant with Elensky. I don't believe there was any hugging taking place either. So will the Elensky curse snag Trump or Harris? Time will tell. The economists, they are starting to come to the realization, the understanding that Project Ukraine is over. They ran an article the other day with the title, "The war is going badly. Ukraine and its allies must change course." And The Economist, they also had a podcast the other day with the title, "The Desperation Apparent in Volodymyr Zelensky's American Visit." The desperation in Zelensky's face. Yeah, you could see it. You could see that Elensky, he needed the endorsement of all three political leaders, or else he was going to go back to Kiev and he was going to be in big trouble. But he got it. He did get the meetings that he needed. The Financial Times, they have an article with the title, "Ukraine's new infantry recruits freeze in face of Russian onslaught." And in this article from the Financial Times, they talk about how Ukraine recruits, Ukraine soldiers, they freeze up, they get scared, they run away when they see the Russian military approaching. And I found this article very, very ironic. Is that the word to use? Because the narrative that the collective West has been telling us for much of the conflict in Ukraine is that when the Russian military, when they see the Ukraine military approaching, they're the ones that run away. Wasn't the entire 2023 super duper big counteroffensive that offended me and offends you? Wasn't that whole counteroffensive towards the Sea of Azov based on the belief that when the Russian forces saw the Ukraine military approaching, that they would drop their weapons and run away, and that way the Ukraine military would be able to cut off the Russian military in the south and eventually reach Crimea, because the Russian forces would see the Ukraine military, and they would run away. And now we have the Financial Times telling us, well, actually, what's really going on is that when the Ukraine military sees the Russian military approaching, now when they see the Russian military approaching, they either freeze up or they run away. So that was the Financial Times. We've got this Estonia story, which is that this Estonia story, or this statement, is just bonkers, man. That Estonia is ready to hit Russia. They're all up. The Estonian military, they're ready and waiting for NATO to give them the green light so they can launch a preemptive strike into Russian territory. What kind of craziness is this? What kind of nonsense are we talking about here? So that's what the Estonian military officials are saying. That for the first time in NATO doctrine and Estonian military doctrine, they're ready. They've been told that if they launch the preemptive strike, and they're ready to launch the preemptive strike into Russia, when they do this, then NATO is also ready to back them up. And so Estonia is ready to take the fight to Russia in a preemptive strike. For which Medvedev finally responded to this statement from Estonia. And well, Medvedev, he was classic Medvedev. I'm not going to read you everything he said. I'll probably get in trouble with the overlords at YouTube if I read you everything that Medvedev said. But he did say, the sillier the state, the greater the arrogance of its individual insane leaders. He then said, sure, Article 5 of the Washington Treaty may apply, but the states will no longer exist. He said some other words which were a bit more harsh towards Estonia and the Estonian leaders, talking about a preemptive strike into Russia, but you can search that out from Medvedev's statements. And finally, we can talk about one more story. Let's talk about Nord Stream and Sarah Wagenknecht. I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly, because I always mispronounce it. The leader of the BSW party that is doing really well in the elections that have been taking place in Germany. She has said that there needs to be an independent investigation in Germany conducted by the German parliament, or under the supervision of the German parliament. And she said that if the reporting from the Wall Street Journal and all of these collective West media outlets is true, and Ukraine was involved in the sabotage of Nord Stream, which is what the Wall Street Journal and these outlets claim, then she said that Ukraine, they have to pay Germany. Yeah, they have to pay Germany for the sabotage, for the damage inflicted on German infrastructure, well, part German infrastructure. That is what she said the other day. I would imagine that you would probably have to do something about Ukraine's ambassador to the UK as well, who, according to the Wall Street Journal, was involved in the sabotage. Very convenient for Elensky, this whole 5-6 diver story under the supervision of Zaluzhny. Blew up Nord Stream. Very convenient for Elensky because his main competitor in all of this is none other than Zaluzhny. His main competitor for the leadership of Ukraine, the person he worries about more, is Zaluzhny. So this story and this reporting from the collective West actually plays into Elensky's hands because it takes off some of the regime change pressure that he may have from the main competitors, which is Zaluzhny, Poroshenko, and Klitschko. So anyway, that is Sarah Wagenacht and what she said the other day. And finally, let's do a clown world, and we'll wrap this video up. And in this clown world, we will remain in Germany. And the story that we are getting is that a German couple was arrested for illegal RT broadcasts. The suspects are 37-year-old German and his 42-year-old wife of Ukrainian nationality. The German Customs Service Zoli announced on Friday they are said to have offered several sanctioned Russian TV channels to their customers via an IPTV service since at least the beginning of 2022. Police in the city of Karlsruhe raided the couple's apartment on Thursday. According to the customs statement, they found extensive technical equipment, written evidence, and 40,000 euros in cash, all of which was seized. The couple's service presumably included well-known channels such as Rossiya 1 and Russia Today, the German customs said. Under arrest because you broadcast Russian TV channels. You're under arrest for broadcasting Russian TV. Put your hands up. 40,000 cash, not bad. Not bad at all. Anyway, that's the clown world, everybody. That's the video. They're Duran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfit, and Twitter X. Go to the Duran shop. Pick up some merch, like the shirt I'm wearing in this video today. The link is in the description box down below. Take care.